What is that?
Stop.
No, not stop.
I didn't know we could get started. We'll have to talk about that. You ready? All right. All right, I'm going to call this meeting to order. If you'll please join me with the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Well, we have a short agenda this evening, so we're going to jump right into the update on the Marshall High School, starting with the MHS building.
Okay, would you just advance them, Wesley? I think I'm just going to stay here where I can have the microphone in front of me. I just wanted to give the timeline for DESI communication, what happened all the way through up until actually today. Then Ms. Jones is going to take over because she's the one that, well, she's the one with the brains, and she's the one that's figured all of this out. So the initial letter request for waiver went in on December 2nd, and actually I got a response from them on December 2nd. Then on January 4th, we requested an extension of that. That was denied. And then on the 5th, I had a phone conversation about the denial with Dr. Monsees, and he sent then a confirmation of that email the next day. On the 7th, then, the phone call and letter submission to DESI with what he had suggested and what he had told us that DESI would agree to. Ms. Jones was in on that conversation and talked to him also. Then DESI did approve the revised plan yesterday, and this evening, then, it's being presented to the board and the community.
I'm going to hand you a copy of the course catalog from Edmonton, so when I talk about it, it kind of shows you what Edmonton offers us.
Thank you. Thank you. That's the one handouts. I feel like school.
Good job.
Ms. Jones, will you make sure you can speak into the microphone for those?
Can I use this handheld one?
That one actually is probably on the standard, if that one makes you feel better.
I feel like I'm leaning forward then. Can I use this?
Whatever
Sorry.
makes you comfortable.
I just feel weird on that one. That good, Wesley? Okay, can you advance my slide for me, please, sir? So we started, when we found out that our plan was denied, we started looking for locations. When the state told us we had to have our students in seats, full days, we started looking for locations. And so with that being said, when you're thinking about locations, there's several things that we had to think about that we needed for our student body in order to be able to carry on education in a manner that we felt was proper and right for our kids. And so I do want to say that a lot of our community reached out to us and tried to give us different suggestions and ideas, and we reached out to some of those and talked to a lot of them, and a lot of people offered us opportunities, but when it came down to the end of it, we were trying to figure out how that we could keep our students as close as possible, all in the same area. So we've come up with 4 locations that our students will be housed at. Our freshmen will be housed at Marshall High School. Our sophomores will be housed at the fairgrounds, and then our juniors and seniors will be housed between the Career Center and the Martin Center. Okay, why are we doing that? Because we have a lot of juniors and seniors who have 3-hour block courses at the SEC, and so we can provide that as a home base for them and provide education there so that there's not a lot of transportation back and forth between the Martin Center. And then the Martin Center is large enough to hold the other half of the juniors and seniors. And so that was, those were the things we were starting to talk about. When this first started, I know there was a lot of conversation about the Martin Center not being able to help us because of things that they had going on. They graciously rearranged schedules, and so now we are able to be in that facility. So we are thankful for that. That keeps us all right there close together in close proximity so that we can be in the 3 locations, and our administrative team can be at every location and then be able to get back and forth to each other if we need to. So Those are the 4 locations. Transportation. We will continue to run with our transportation as Marshall High School being the hub. For our students who walk or ride the bus, they will come to Marshall High School, and then they will get on a bus and be transported to one of those 2 facilities if they need that transportation. Our students who drive will be allowed to still drive to those locations like they are now. But this way, we are centralized with not running buses all over town. Craig has graciously agreed to give us 2 or 3 shuttle buses per se to get to locations where we need to get kids. And so far, right now, when we're shuttling students out to the Martin Center, our juniors and seniors, it has worked, it's worked well. And we've got our kids out there pretty quick, and we can move them back and forth like we need to do. Food service. Breakfast is going to be served at MHS, so students can pick up breakfast there and then take it where they need to. And then lunch will be served at all 4 locations. So it'll be a grab-and-go lunch. And so we are working on the schedule of how we get lunches transported to the locations so our students will have food and make sure that we get it there in a timely fashion. So if it's something that's a hot meal, it's still hot when they, it's hot as we can have it when they get there. Students will be able to bring in their lunch just like normal, and we'll provide them microwaves and such, whatever they need to warm up. So every location that we're at has an industrial-sized fridge for us to be able to store stuff in, for our faculty to be able to store their lunches, plus store milk and stuff for our students and water for our students. Courses offered. So I talked about wanting to be able to provide the best educational experience for our students possible. So with that being said, we looked at how can we do that with our MHS teachers. Our dual credit courses will continue to be offered by our MHS teachers. That is something we worked with and talked with Missouri Valley to talk about possibly sending our kids out there to do dual credit out there. They didn't have enough seats open, which I totally understand that. So we will keep them in-house and with our MHS teachers teaching them. And we currently started this morning on working on a schedule for what that looks like for our students to be able to do that. SEC block courses will be offered by the MPS CTE teachers still, as well as some of their single courses will also be offered by the CTE teachers. MHS electives will be offered. Some of them will be offered by our MHS teachers. Band and orchestra and jazz band will be housed over at Beaker Middle School. So that is a good location for them because the summers are with us for 2 hours and then they go to Beaker. So Beaker is gracious enough to give us their location to have our students there, and then we will bus them back and get them where they need to be. And then our choir teacher, we will be rearranging choir, but he'll be offering 3 sections of choir at the high school. And then art and drama we're working on that schedule as well. So our students will still get some in-person electives from our MHS teachers. Go back. Too quick. Ed Minim. I just handed you Ed Minim. Ed Minim is a virtual platform that is one of the state's most approved platforms. And as you can see, the course catalog is very robust and it's very rigorous. And so we are going to use Ed Minim. We have purchased it. I just got an email on my phone that all of our students have been uploaded, as well as all of my teachers have been uploaded. And so my teachers will use this platform. It was not fair to the MHS teachers to ask them to try to get everything done and made and get it posted on Google Classroom, and then also work around a schedule and move kids. I'm going to be honest with you. Our teachers right now will not have much of a plan time, okay? Because of the way we have to maneuver teachers and keep them in all 4 locations and keep things working, it's their plan time. They don't have enough plan time to plan, in-depth lessons. And so it's going to be hard on them. And so we chose to go with Ed Minim. I met with, and Brian was there, I met with my department chairs. We talked through this. They will be trained on this tomorrow afternoon, as well as, again, on Friday on how to do it. This provides an online platform. Teachers can see all the course syllabus. They can see exactly what's going to be taught, so they can go through it and look at it. And then if kids have questions, they can go back and reteach. They can help with the support piece of it and do that. There's also some extra activities that we can have kids do that our teachers would grade. So some projects and stuff that can happen that our teachers can grade. And then credit recovery will be delivered the same way it has been delivered. It'll be delivered through Acellus with our MHS teachers supporting it. That is the plan.
Okay, I have
It
one.
hasn't gone that quickly, though. I'm
I
just
have
gonna be
one
honest.
question. So kids that are in weighted classes at the high school,
Yes.
those continue, those go away?
So weighted classes, give me what you're asking. Like which one? Sorry, I'm just,
American Lit 3.
American Lit 3. So there is an option for an American Lit on here. So it may not be taught in person, but there is an option that they have looked at and said that yes, that would be an option for us to use as American Lit.
Okay.
It will still
as
be weighted.
a weighted class.
It'll still be weighted, yes,
yeah,
yes, that's what
okay.
I'm saying, yes. It may not be delivered by my MHS teacher, but there will be the option for them to take it and still get the weighting.
Okay.
Do you feel that we need to, I know we have one SRO, do you feel that we need to look into other people to help with security at our other locations?
So it's interesting you just asked me that, because I was just thinking about that on the way out here tonight. Thinking about how am I going to split my staff up to have help at each building. And so when I think about that, I have 2 assistants, 2 secretaries. How am I going to, I'm going to have one at, I'll have one at each building, but then I'm going to have, of course, SCC already has them, but I don't have one for the other facility. So how do I do that? And so I was just thinking about that, my support staff, how am I going to split them all up to make sure I'm covered everywhere? I'm going to be honest with you, it's going to be difficult. Could I always use extra help? Yes, I could always use extra help. I'm not going to tell you I couldn't. Especially in this situation.
What about nursing?
Right,
I mean,
so,
that's a huge concern. too.
right, Rosie and I just talked before I left the high school tonight, and she is going to, she has a plan because we'll be delivering medicine. Some of the basic nursing needs, we will be able to handle such, but like delivering a medicine and things like that, she has to take care of that.
Right.
And so those will be things that, or we have to train somebody in to be able to dispense it, but then we have to be able to keep it locked up in a place, and, not every place, the Martin Center and the fairgrounds, we won't have a lock, so we'll have to figure that piece out.
So you
Yes,
said-
Mr. Smith?
You said like orchestra, will that still stay like second hour then?
It will still say second hour, yes.
Okay, so what about sophomores that are at the fairgrounds?
So they'll start at Beaker, is what the plan is. They just like now, there's days where he has them come all in at the same time, so we will continue to do that process so that they are there. So Mr. Summers will watch them during their first hour class, and it may be that they're taking an elective online, and then they take orchestra, and then we bus them back to the fairgrounds.
Okay. I knew I would be asked.
That's okay. Yes, I
later
understand.
This evening, so I thought I'd better
Yes.
ask.
So I'm back to the security at all the buildings. That's a biggie for me. I mean, we really take that serious, I feel like, at our buildings across the district. How do we guarantee moms and dads and Jimmys and Joes that they're safe in these buildings?
So I can tell you that.
Excuse me, Ms. Jones, Dr. Lorenz just suggested, and this is a good suggestion, we will be hiring an SRO at the end of the year. Mr. Wright is retiring, so I would suggest that possibly we consider hiring an SRO now for someone who is going to go ahead and keep that job through the summer if needed at summer school and through next year. I think if we just go ahead and hire the SRO now, I don't know if that will be enough, but I think that would help.
I think that in the short term, we also can contact our local police department and ask them if we can maybe get some officers. We pay for officers, extra officers at football games, those kind of things as well. So maybe seeing what we could get as far as a patrol officer, people to make rounds to the parking lot out there, those kind of things, so.
Right, and I know that, we've made sure like the Martin Center has been locked down. So as soon as we get the kids in, everything is locked down except for they have to come through the front door. And I have, at that time I had 2 counselors and Miss Riley were sitting at the front, sitting out there, so people weren't coming in. I mean, the same thing at the fairgrounds, everything will be locked down. Once we get kids in, we will lock down so that it's not, you can go out, but you can't get in.
Right.
Okay. And I can tell you, Ms. Coslett will be with the freshmen. I will be at the Martin Center with the juniors and seniors. Mr. Cooney will be at the fairgrounds, and then Mr. Callanan will bounce between the SEC and the freshmen. So he'll be bouncing back and forth so that he can still take care of athletic duties and help out both places.
This seems like a selfish ask, and I don't mean it to come across. Matt will probably feel this way a little bit too, but your seniors are losing a lot. I'm going to get emotional here because it's personal, but your seniors have lost a lot. And sitting in your building the other day, your teachers have lost just as much as those seniors have, really. They really were struggling. And so I hope in this process that we're able really to cater to those seniors and remind them where they're from. And I hate it for our kids.
I want you to know that also I sat with Ms. Jones last week and her team for quite a few hours, Thursday and Friday, and I heard nothing but positive statements from her team about we can do this. I know at the beginning, her administrative team, there were some overwhelmed looks, there were some overwhelmed ideas. Where are we going to put 750 students in this town when we looked at this a couple of weeks ago and we couldn't come up with anything better? You came up with something better, and I want to commend you on that. Sorry, I'm losing my voice as well, but I'm not quite as emotional or teared up. It's just cold. But no. But also, I just wanted to commend your team. I sat through your department head meeting as well. I never once heard anybody say, "Oh my gosh, we're not going to make it here." It was thumbs up. It was high fives. It was department heads talking to each other about what I can even help your department do. You know, what classes can we do online? What classes can we do in person? I mean, they were formulating plans as soon as it came out of your mouth. This is what we were going to have to do. So I commend you on all that. So, excuse me.
Thank you very much.
And your students and your teachers, because
Yeah.
I know your students are going through it too.
They are.
You just going through a 2-week change. You're going to go through another 2-month change, and then hopefully we'll have you back in the building. I'm not going to guarantee any date, but I'll say hopefully by the first part of April, because that's what I understand our timeline will be right now, so.
And that's just like tomorrow. I mean, tomorrow we're doing Mental Health Day. That's what we're doing. So all of our students will be at Marshall High School. I mean, we will still do things together and still have activities and things like that for them. It is going to take some planning, and I'm not going to tell you right now off the top of my head. I don't know all those dates, and I don't know when all that's going to happen, because right now I'm trying to get kids in educational settings. But once we get that done, then we have talked about still being able to provide activities and such for the students and some assemblies and things like that to try to make it as much as normal as we possibly can.
Would using something like a mental health day where all the students are in one place, would that help some of the teachers with a little extra plan time if they could get a way to do that for a little bit?
So that's one of the things tomorrow. I'm going to be honest, I have several out sick, so we're trying to get that going. And we have talked about that, bringing them all together at different times. That was one of the things that Mary Jo Stark had talked about. One of our counselors had talked about bringing them in together and doing activities on different Wednesdays. So since those are early release Wednesdays, at this point in time, I'm not saying it's out of the picture, but it's just trying to get the first plan done and then to make the next plan. So yes, we have talked about doing that where kids get to all come back together, because we know it's difficult and we know it's hard to be out. But I'm going to tell you, our kids have done an amazing job. We've gotten nothing but compliments from the Martin Center and how they've handled it and such. So they've done a great job.
And then real quick, can you kind of explain, I mean, I know some people listening may not, the reason we had to go to Edmentum from Excellus?
So our reason for going from Excellus to Edmentum, first off, is that the offerings that I have available to me are much more rigorous than what I had through Excellus. Excellus is also one that the state came through and has said that they would no longer, that wasn't their platform, they were not supporting that platform for their virtual learning. And so we knew that by the end of this year, we were going to be changing next year anyway. I guess good things to look at is that we're now getting to test Edmentum and see what it looks like and really get our hands in there. So we'll know if this is a platform we want to use next year as our credit recovery platform, virtual platform. So that's the reason we went with it, is that it is, and Edmentum, really they have been great to work with. Their staff have, and they also, and Brian was there when I talked to him, they really worked with me on the price and such, knowing that we were in a crunch. And so, so far everything we've seen looks good. The faculty, my department chairs got to look at it and look at everything. They've got to look at course syllabuses already and see what we've offered. So there's been, it's been really good for us.
The cost of Edmentum comes from, the payment for that comes from where?
Insurance.
The payment will come from insurance on this, as well as facility rentals and other things as well, so.
I just
for
said that
those
like
of you-
there's a lot of questions.
Right, and I just want to say, almost everything that we're having to do is reimbursable through insurance, whether it's man hours, payments to the Martin Center, whatever those would be, because those are all costs that are incurred to the district due to the result of the fire. So don't think we're spending a bunch of pennies out there, dollars that are just coming out of the budget and we just made some money happen. These are dollars that we're going to have to spend up front, but they're reimbursable dollars for us within the district, so.
So I want to ask a question. So Brian is now has mentioned that the date for potential back in the building has changed. So what is our timeline at this point?
I cannot speak to that.
Would you like to speak on your crew's timeline, sir? All right. If you'll say who you are and what you're doing.
This is Travis Stickles with General Manager of Serve Pro. We had a meeting with the consultant JS Held and also the adjuster for music insurance. So the last meeting we had was to nail down the timeline for what our capabilities are to finish up the project. Right now, the structure cleaning is in place with all the contents. We're going to have that completed by January 31st. We then have a team coming in that's going to be sealing the ceilings, basically putting a shellac on the ceiling, which is going to be about a 4-week process that's going to take us up to the 1st of March. And then what's going to take place after that is the setting up the classrooms, making sure we're wiping down everything one last time to make sure that everything's good to go, trying to put the classrooms back the way they were before, minus the boxing up of teachers' contents and stuff like that. And then, so mid-March to first part of April is the time frame. So give or take a couple days.
I've informed Desi March 22nd. That's when we come back from spring break.
Yep. Thank you, sir. I just saw you were here and I thought I'd give you a chance to speak about your own plan. Thank you.
Anything else for me?
I'm fine, Ms. Jones.
So
Anyone
we
else?
think that the ceiling, the lights, everything will be completed. You're thinking March 22nd?
I don't know if everything will be completed, but that's,
We will, from what we understand, we will have a habitable building, but I do not believe that we will probably have a 100% restored building as far as like ceiling grids, ceiling tiles, some of those things are being harder to come in. I know Dr. T had talked about that even last week. You know, materials are hard to come by, getting that much material in, but we should have a safe building for students to be able to occupy.
the comment from Desi was, you don't need ceiling tiles to have school. And I said, our concern is safety, is our kids' safety. We won't let them back in the building unless they're safe, but our projected date is March 22nd, which is the day they come back from spring
So
break.
that'll be, our hope is then to have the grid at least in so that the walls are connected to the grid, those kinds of things, correct?
And ServPro has done some, from what I understand, they have done some anchoring of those walls also. So yes, well, we need to make sure there are pillars with electrical wires and outlets, et cetera. Those will have to have attention, and Dr. Lorenz is on that.
And then, do you guys have to have a state fire marshal inspection before we take possession again, or?
Actually,
how does
that will be a requirement by the insurance, but I'm sure that we, as a school district, will require that.
Okay. And so who will be the one, how will that process work? I only ask because I know they're behind, and so how does that work requesting their visit? Is that something you do, or Dr. T does, or how?
I'll ask well, actually, it will be Dr. T, but I'll ask insurance. They should be the ones that lead on that.
Okay, I would hate to be held up if they're behind.
And they have so many contacts that if we can't find one here in this exact location, I think that they can find one for us.
Okay.
And have they said anything about adding additional smoke and fire detectors, smoke detectors in the building?
I mean, are they aware that everything came out?
We actually just met with Johnson Control today. They've been working on bids, and I have directed them that we're looking at, I should be having some information to you shortly because it's going to be the easiest to move in that high school right now prior to kids and teachers getting back. I expect to have a scope of work worked up from them relatively shortly so we can get it posted, and then I can get you the information and you can decide. We should know, what is today, Tuesday?
Tuesday.
I'm hoping to have something from them by the end of the week that I can get out to you, and just as soon as I get it, we'll need to post it for bid, because it'll be a pretty expensive project, but it won't be a better time to get up there and run some of the main line and the infrastructure wiring right now in the state that it's in. It'll be the easiest, and they know that, and they also may have some issues with supply chain, so it's all kind of relative.
I guess one of the thought process, Matt, go ahead if you're.
I was just gonna say, so there's a possibility we'll have some information by next week's meeting?
I'm expecting to have, yes.
And I guess my thought process would be if there was anything that was grandfathered in to where the school didn't have to have sprinkler heads and things like that, if it was taken apart, that they might not allow us to just put it back how it was and not be grandfathered in again. So I guess that would be one of my questions also.
If we were renovating, if we were physically changing walls, changing structure, but
we
taking
took
down
out the
ceiling
whole-
tile and putting back up, we're putting back the way it was, so that would still fall under that.
Okay.
Question for you, Dr. T. On the HVACs, are they putting sensors in there? So if this ever happens again, that they shut down once they detect smoke?
I'll have to check on that for you.
Because, you know, if we had that on our system, and as soon as it detected smoke, if them HVACs would have just shut off, we wouldn't have had this major problem, so.
Yeah,
Maybe something to ask, to see if they do that, so.
Well, that may all be part of the Johnson Controls too. They may be
Yes.
able to integrate.
Yes, Johnson Control is
call for
the one who's doing this whole system, so, and I told them that, because they were asking about several different components, and I told them that we would want the main line in one bid, but then we could put addendums in there, and you could decide how much or how little, based on just like that, sensor controls.
Harry is participating by phone tonight. Mr. Carroll, do you have anything to add before we keep moving on?
I'm with you, Brian.
Okay. Just wanted to give you a chance to answer since you couldn't raise a hand or chime in too fast, so.
I would just be concerned that Johnson Control, I mean, we're talking about not very many months to get a crew in here and get things put in and get things, it just seems like that's a little far-fetched if we're really going to be back in by March 22nd to April 1st somewhere.
Well, I guess we'll see what they propose to us and see what kind of timelines they can give us.
Yeah.
It could be something that is not feasible for us to do directly at this time
Yep.
as well. So
Yep.
there's also been some discussion about maybe possibly not even opening the entire building and working around sometime in wings. So just depends on what we have to deal with, when we have to
Yep.
deal with it, but we're looking at
Yep.
getting back in building.
Yep.
And that's where our students need to be.
Agreed.
Can we, is there any way we can maybe put some pictures online of the progress inside the building as it goes?
Yeah.
I know the community can't walk around in there like we can, so
I had
maybe
some-
just a thought.
I have periodically been taking pictures, I just hadn't shared them because I wasn't given permission yet, but I think everything's clear with everybody, so I actually shared them with the newspaper, The Democrat, but we can put them on the website and start sharing it out, put a link for it, and share the pictures I have, and I'll get some updated ones so they can see right where we're at.
I saw some compliments on the website, maybe some stuff Daniel's done, so maybe he
Yeah.
can work some magic on there too. And then one more thing just popped in. As part of this kind of moving back in and moving around cleaning, is there any chance that like some of our organizations could get time in, some of the students could get some time in doing some of that, or is that a safety thing?
It's a safety issue, and I don't think at the rate, Serpro's been working like bandits, and I think it would turn into a supervision nightmare that insurance wouldn't want us to get involved in that.
The building all night, every night?
Then they have been really moving. I commend them. They have been moving through the building at an incredible pace.
I didn't know if Christie wanted to take a group of kids in at night, stand there with them all night while they mopped or something.
She practically lives there as it is.
That is something to think of, though. If ServPro's hiring and anyone is interested in going and helping, go to ServPro and apply, because they might hire you. So, Brian, if you want some nighttime hours, they're hiring.
I was at the school all weekend at the wrestling tournament, as well as gentlemen from Surf Pro.
You should have
so-
just ran on right up the road.
They've got this great barrier up there, I couldn't get through, but anyway.
Hold on, before we go, I want to say something. You know, the last 3 years, our district and every school throughout the United States, man, we had it rough with COVID and everything else. And, you know, our teachers and all the staff, they did very well during that. And then on top of that, you got to look at Marshall and our community and the people and the kids and everyone else. Then you throw a fire on top of that. Probably there's not too many schools in the United States after facing 3 years of COVID had to face a fire in their building, and then our people still keep the attitude, the positive, go get them. And, you know, from the bottom of my heart, I want to thank everyone from the custodians, clean up to the superintendent and the community. I mean, that just tells you how much that the Marshall people do care about their kids, so.
Sure.
I have one more question. If they do go back in the building, March 22nd, April 1st, whatever, will they stay on the Edmentum program going forward, or that's unknown at this point?
Doesn't know, but we almost have to, because I can't really take it back to, I can't really throw another schedule and rearrange and continue to do that. So we're gonna almost have to kind of stay in the way we're doing. Can I tell you what that's gonna look like in there? And Brian was in on the conversation, we talked about that, like, I don't know.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, but that's really all, that's where we're gonna have to, that'll be
Okay.
another juggling act of shifting of schedules and making things.
Okay.
Yeah, spring break won't be a spring breaky probably for the admins trying to figure out how to move from where we were back to where we used to be
Well,
again.
hopefully they'll
So,
have a good plan before then. They won't have to,
Right.
it'll be done and moving. Okay.
Just want to remind everyone, we've talked a lot about, just physical health, physically in school, just mental health as well. We've had that on our mind. I know a few of us have talked about it up here as well, making sure that we kind of stay on top of that with teachers and your teams. So let us know if there's anything we can do to support that portion better, as far as, with the staff and of course with the students as well. So it's going to be hard on everyone through this time. So I echo what Mr. Harper said. People reached out to me and everyone else up here last week. If they had a barn that they thought could hold 150 students, somebody in the area called us and told us about it. So the town did reach out in various ways. These were the ways that we thought would best suit our students, and Christie's team thought would best suit our needs for this time, so.
Can I say one more thing, Brian?
Of course.
And then I forgot to mention when I was up there, is that this Friday, the 14th, the state has given us permission to not have students in session so that our teachers can be trained. So the MHS high school students will not be in session because teachers are going to be trained and they are going to be going to locations and making sure we have what we need to start the 18th,
So
Except for the Career Center.
except for the career.
I was going to say, so for those of you at home that couldn't quite hear that, there will be not, the high school students will not have class this Friday except for those involved at the Career Center. And there's an hour system and an hour rationale behind that because they have to have so many hours in seat for that. And for them to have to make up those hours, that is not feasible within Brian's program over there. He had talked about that at length as well because he's been right hand in hand with Ms. Jones's team. So go ahead, sir.
Can I just have you announce that it will be our 2 and 3 hour blocks and not our single hour class?
It will be the 2 and 3 hour blocks that happen at the Career Center. The 1 hour classes, you will still be able to have the day off. That is correct?
That's correct.
That is correct. All right. So if you are a 2 and 3 hour block student at the Career Center, you will still be expected to be at class on Friday. Everyone else, be ready to come back on Tuesday and be ready to get back in seat and get it going.
And our elementary and middle school kids will be with us on Friday.
Yes.
So I do have to compliment the high school, the administrative team, the teachers, and the students. The students have been amazing. I told the DESE officials, our students have just been amazing, but so have our adults. So there's just really no words to express that what the whole community feels for our high school.
Yeah,
They're pretty resilient.
for sure. For sure.
If no one else has anything, then I need to entertain a motion to move to closed session.
I'll move to closed session for the subjects of 610.021 RSMO hiring, terminating, disciplining, or promoting.
Seconded by Mr. Harper. I'll start down here for a roll call.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Harry?
Aye.
We'll be moving to closed session. Thank you all.